And Christy Santos here with Windermere. We love real estate and supporting our community.
Between property showings, we love to stop at our favorite businesses, talk with local owners, and bring their stories to you.
This is our Bellevue East Side.
Well, hello friends. I am so excited to share this moment with you. I had the amazing opportunity to spend some time with Melissa Gehrig today. And she is the executive director of one of my hero organizations. And I'm hoping that she'll be able to share a lot more about what Vision House does for our community and for our families. Thank you, Melissa, for spending time with us this afternoon.
My pleasure, thank you.
Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about you? Like, did you grow up in this area or like somewhere else and move in?
I've been sort of a vagabond. I was born in Massachusetts, grew up in Tennessee, then finished college in California. So I moved west to go to school and lived in California for a number of years before moving to Seattle in 1986. So been up here since 1986.
Wow, that's I mean, you've been all over the country, basically.
Yes.
You've had quite a journey.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then was it Vision House that brought you into the Pacific Northwest, or is there another job?
No, I was, actually, my first husband was transferred here from, he was in the banking industry, and transferred from Los Angeles, where we were living, to, I think it was First Interstate Bank at the time. So we moved up here and didn't have any kids yet, and we ended up having our first child a year later. So I was able to stay home with my kids for 12 years and had previously worked in the banking industry and then worked in an art museum down in Los Angeles. So when we moved to Seattle, I decided I'm just going to take a break, and which was great because I was able to stay home with my children, and then went back to work in education, just helping out at the school, and then was hired by my church at the time. So that was how I went back to work.
Yeah. Moving from like child rearing at home, but what a gift, right? To be able to raise your kids at home.
I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
Oh yeah, I agree. That's just such a blessing. So moving back into the workforce, and then what brought you into Vision House then?
Well, another interesting story. I was working at my church. I'm an Episcopalian and was doing spiritual gifts discernment workshops and adult education classes, and through an unfortunate divorce, and needed to find a job that supported me and my children and paid benefits and the whole thing. And interestingly enough, as a single mother, I answered an ad in the newspaper. Funny thing that we used to do.
That we read the newspaper too,
I know.
Right?
So, for an office manager at Vision House. And at that time, Vision House, that was 2004, and we had less than 10 employees, and it was really a small organization with one location, and here in the Renton Highlands. And so I was hired, and that was almost 20 years ago.
Wow. Thank you for sharing such a personal story as well. And a lot of those personal stories, they do meld in because they create experiences that help you to connect.
Well, it's interesting because it took me, believe it or not, it took me a while to make the connection that here I am, a single mother, working for an organization that serves single mothers with children. And, God works in really interesting ways. And I think that there are many reasons he brought me here. One was to bring my skill set, which was I have an ability to sort of manage chaos and growth, and that was where the organization was at the time, really beginning to start to take that steep climb of growth.
But you grew with this job.
I grew, and I went back to school right after I had started working here because I knew I needed to be in charge of human resources because we were building this complex here as a child care center, because child care is one of the barriers to housing stability. So we, that was an important feature that we added to the program. And so I didn't know anything about HR. So I went back to school, got my master's degree in organizational leadership, did that full-time while I was working full-time. It was an online program. So, and then was certified as a senior professional in human resources after going through the rigorous study for that and then the testing. And so it was really important for me to feel like I had the knowledge, the body of knowledge that where I could contribute, to the growth and the change and caring for the staff, which was really my role. So I was human resources for the first 10 years, 11 years that I was here. I love learning, and it was interesting that I chose the route that I did for my education, but again, God had his hand in it, because organizational development is really about leadership, learning about leadership, the different styles of leadership, and the program through Gonzaga University was really the foundation of it was servant leadership, which is really important to me as a leadership style and philosophy. And so it really set me up for the next phase of my time here at Vision House, which I didn't have any aspiration to take over leadership, but our founder retired and the board asked me to step in as an interim. And so that was 9 years ago, and here I am.
You must have been a very successful interim. And you've done so well. I went back through some of your annual reports. Amazing growth over the years. But let's jump into what is Vision House? For many of you that have never been here, we are in Renton.
It's off of Coal Creek Parkway and Northeast 4th Cemetery Road, which is the main arteries that are close here. But we were started here in Renton because of our founders. They live in Renton, John and Susan Kammer, and they started Vision House in 1990 after having watched a made-for-TV movie called God Bless the Child. And the movie was about a young woman who had a child and was trying to do the right thing, work and provide housing and stability for the child, and she just kept getting one hard knock after another, to the point where she ended up having to give up her child to the state. And John and Susan had their first child was a baby at the time, and they said, if we wake up tomorrow feeling the way we do right now after having watched this film, so they were really feeling God call them to something, but they needed a little bit more of that discernment, and they realized that this was a calling that God put on their life to serve the homeless. And they started out serving single men who were coming out of prison, because John had he was working in corrections at Monroe State Prison. Then it turned into single mothers with children. Again, the heart for mothers and children. And so really the focus of our program for the past 33 plus years has been children, really trying to break that cycle of homelessness for the children by working with the parents and the whole family. So we are a transitional housing program, and so the program part comes first. You have to be here and want to work towards making a change for yourself and for your family. And with that comes the benefit of temporary housing. So it's a year-long program, and it comes with those supportive services such as case management, life skills classes. We have licensed mental health counselors to help families deal with the trauma that they've experienced. And so we have actually 3 different complexes, 2 in Renton and 1 in Shoreline. So and then we do have a new confidential diversion center in Shoreline that we just purchased, which will turn into a place where families can come on an appointment basis to be served in person, to help figure out whether our program, first of all, is a good program, fits them and their needs, or whether we can help them in some other way. So that might be through housing search or job search, or having them have access to our computers just to do all that work.
So that's really the first step for a family coming in, is to have an appointment with the diversion center.
Exactly. Everybody goes through that, and then they kind of go, if Vision House transitional housing isn't a good fit for them, meaning they don't necessarily need a long-term program, or we can't serve them well because of something such as a medically fragile child that is just beyond our ability to serve well, then we will find somewhere else for them to go.
Okay.
So
excellent.
Yeah.
So for the those that do come into Vision House, you have, did I hear 2 campuses, or are there 3 now?
There's 3 complexes, so 2 main campuses. The one here in Renton is 2 complexes. So we have this one, and then 2 blocks away are additional housing units and our case management offices. So right here where we are, we have 11 apartments and our administrative hub, if you will, and then our child care center. And then a couple of blocks away are 11 additional apartments with our case management offices. And then in Shoreline, it's all of that in one complex.
Yes. Oh gosh, and it just looks beautiful. I watched one of the YouTube videos where you were opening it up with you in it, and so I didn't realize that it had opened up over time.
Yes.
I think the one I saw was 2019.
Yes, we do that mostly because, for example, this complex is 3 buildings. We phased it in over time for the fundraising needs. You know, we want to make sure we have the support of the community and funds to build, so we don't incur debt. So we're debt free. We own all of our buildings, and we do that. We're able to do that because of our fundraising model.
I love that. I love that. And as a donor, you know, to come in and read through your annual report, it was stellar. It's definitely a safe place to put your money and know that it's going to be put to excellent use.
I agree with you. You know, we know that our model works. We have the evidence of that. We have a historical success rate of 92% of our families moving from our program to permanent housing, and we have an alumni program where we follow up with the families for 3 years after they leave here to make sure that they're getting the support they need, building community, and you know, we can throw them a lifeline if needed. And they're also invited to our holiday parties and our back to school events. In fact, on Saturday, our staff hosted our alumni party, Christmas party up in Kirkland. So people from both geographic regions could attend, and they were amazed at the number of families that showed up. It was just amazing.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 years, I counted, including the diversion, so close to 1,000 people last year went through at least the diversion, and of that, a number went through long-term housing.
That's correct. We serve about 65 to 70 families a year in our housing program, and we serve over 700 families a year in our diversion program. And once we open up our 3rd diversion center in Shoreline, which hopefully will happen second quarter of 2024, you know, that will add probably another 300 to 400 families that we're able to serve up in North King County, which we haven't even addressed the immediate need that's up there now, because everybody goes through diversion here, and then we're able to house them in Shoreline in our transitional housing. But we haven't operated our diversion services fully the way that we do down here up there. And we know there's a huge need.
Let's talk more about that, Melissa. You know, with current conditions, you know, and there's many of them, you can kind of go on the website and look through the things that cause homelessness and such in the area. But King County, the numbers that you had posted there, 40,000.
Yeah, over 40,000 families are considered homeless. In fact, there's an article in the Seattle Times today that quotes the statistics from the National Alliance to End Homelessness about the current numbers. And I don't have those memorized yet because I was only able to glance at it. But last year, there were 40,000, and about 8,000 of those are families with children. So, you know, if you think about homelessness, you have individuals who are typically chronically homeless and come from broken family situations, generational homelessness and poverty. Many have addiction or mental health challenges, and those are that's the population of homelessness that people think of when they think of homeless people, and because they're the visible. That's who we see on the streets. Veteran homelessness, unaccompanied youth, so street kids as they're often referred to, who have separated from their families for whatever reason. And then families with children, and we refer to that group as the hidden homeless because many of them stay under the radar. You know, they don't, they're really nervous about the state taking their children away if they are unhoused, and that's not uncommon. So they're either sleeping in their cars or what we call doubled up, which is staying somewhere with other people, whether it's, you know, multiple families in one apartment or staying in somebody's basement or garage, or, you know, we've had some very horrific living conditions that have been reported to us, people living in places that are not fit for anyone to live in. And so we know that those numbers are climbing. I was told just yesterday that in November we had 69 new families that came into our calls. We received calls from 69 new families that are in need of housing. So it just continues to grow.
Praise God for services like this that are rooted in a desire to love and serve our community in such a profound way.
Well, if you think about it, there are families who come from that generational homelessness, and Jeff Lilly, who was the president of Union Gospel Mission, had a great saying that homelessness is not a relationship or a resource issue; it's a relationship issue. So many homeless that you will meet don't have that extended support system of a healthy family, and they come from broken relationships, and that can lead to all kinds of challenges. Not having the life skills to really know how to take care of a family, no financial literacy. Domestic violence is another leading cause of homelessness for families with children. But also there's situational homelessness where it's not anybody's fault. It just happens because somebody may have a job and a place to live, but then they get injured and have to leave their job, and then the medical costs start to rack up, and pretty soon they've lost their housing and on the street, and they need a place to go, and that's where Vision House comes in. We are really our focus is to really serve everyone, and whether it's bringing them into our program or finding another program for them to go, or working with another partner organization such as Mary's Place or Vine Maple Place or the many others in our area, to pool our resources financially or otherwise to find a suitable place for a family to go. We never turn somebody away and say, we can't help you.
Right. But this is not a homeless shelter, so to speak. This is something different. It's much more specific. It's for families.
A shelter is
children.
It is. A shelter is usually people think of a shelter as a short-term stay, 90 days, emergency shelter, and many of them you can be there at night, but not during the day. They make you leave during the day, and so this is transitional housing, which is a different intervention, is the term for it, but it provides that stability of family's own apartment. And you're right, we only serve families with children, whether it's a single mother, a single father, or a two-parent family. We love to see families stay intact, but they have their own apartment, and they, as I said earlier, they are allowed to be here for up to a year. They sign a lease. They have to pay 30% of whatever their income is towards rent, and that helps them build a credit history, and also is a teaching opportunity to help them to learn the value of paying rent first. And so, that's a thing that we sometimes see families struggle with, but, we believe in forgiveness and grace, and so we give them, opportunities to learn that if they struggle with it.
And some of the other classes. So yes,
life skills training,
life skills, financial
literacy,
counseling, even for children.
Right, our counselors are available for our children. We have health and wellness classes. We have healthy boundaries classes. We also help families to understand, how to read a lease. Conflict resolution is a really big reason why anybody struggles with a landlord, is because of conflict. And so we really work with them to try to understand how they can be a good tenant, because when our vision statement says that we're trying to provide access to a healthy home, not just a home, but a healthy home. So what does it mean to provide a healthy home? And a lot of times it's learning the skills, good parenting, or healthy parenting, I should say. And, that's an interesting piece, because we have different cultures that we serve. We have some refugee families. So we're trying to learn as a staff cultural sensitivity. What we think is good parenting may not be the same from their culture. So that's a growth area that we're trying to lean into as a staff.
So there's like everybody's learning.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's one of, I think would be my favorite, cooking classes.
Yes, yes. I have a funny story. It's a real story, but we were using a cooking class called Cooking Matters, and it was taught by, many of our classes are taught by volunteers, or we may pay someone to come in and teach a class. But there was a young mom who was in the class, and the instructor said, okay, next week, what they did was they taught a family that you could, for $10, you could provide a healthy meal for a family of 4. And they took them to the grocery store to show them how to do that. And it's basically shopping the outer rim of the store where all the fresh stuff is, instead of all the packaged stuff, which is convenient and easy to prepare, especially if you're living in a car. But so the teacher said, okay, next week we're gonna make a meal and you need to bring a half a pound of ground beef. So the next week comes by and the gal comes with a half a pound of ground beef. And she said, I couldn't find a half a pound. I had to buy a whole pound. And the teacher says, why is that? And she said, because that's all they sold at the store. And he said, no, you can go to the counter and the butcher can package it. Oh no, that meat is too expensive. That's for rich people. And he's like, no, it's the same meat that is out on the display. And okay, lesson number 1. And so he said, so you bought a whole pound? And she said, yes. And he said, but you only brought a half a pound. What did you do with the rest of it? And she said, well, I threw it away because I only needed half a pound. So we laugh, but it's a true story. And this is a woman who had never used a freezer.
Oh my goodness.
And it sounds like another
obvious to
world,
us,
but it is a true story.
Oh. So yes, cooking is important, valuable lessons to be learned in the kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah. Not to mention, that's where the good smells, and there's so much family and interaction that can happen there that is very positive for children.
Right. And we're at the holiday season here, and one of the things that we get asked a lot is, do you provide a Christmas meal? Do you provide a Thanksgiving meal? And we don't, because we really are trying to equip families to be self-sufficient. And one of those ways of being self-sufficient is to build those traditions oneself rather than us doing that for them. And so we have donors that provide the food. We have an amazing family that provides turkeys every year, or ham. And so we give them all the ingredients, and then and we also have, again, culturally appropriate food that we get as donations that we're able to give to families that need that. But then they get to provide a tradition. They get to, cook, like you said, cook together and do that in a way that works for them.
Which is, that's what leads them to the next step, right?
Yes.
So they are growing and preparing to move out of transitional housing into permanent housing.
They're growing, and they're also building family resiliency. And there is a common thing that happens when, say, a mom is homeless as a young parent, whether she is imprisoned or has some challenge where her child is staying somewhere else, but there's a separation oftentimes with children who are unhoused from their parents. And so what happens is there's a deterioration of that family bond, family attachment. And so there's actually a disorder called family attachment disorder. And so one of the things that we're doing is really, again, having them build relationships with each other when they're here. And so, like, we had a dad one time who hadn't had a relationship with his children, and then his wife, I don't know, she left, she was out of the picture. So he was a single dad all of a sudden. He had a son and a daughter. They were young. I think the daughter was 4. And he didn't know how to really parent the daughter. The boy was easy. He could play with the boy. But so our staff, our youth and family advocates, which is another strong aspect of our program, youth and family advocacy. But what they did was they tried to come up with some activities where they could bond together. And so they were making paper airplanes. And this is a dad who they had never seen him touch or be affectionate with his daughter. So they built a paper airplane, and then she's like, I can't fly it, because she was so little. And so they were having so much fun, and you could see from that joy, he went and he picked her up, and she was flying the plane, and they were laughing, and the staff was like,
How beautiful.
what a step, from not knowing to, I can't help but pick you up and share this moment with you.
Yeah.
So
oh my gosh.
there's the little things that we see areas of growth.
Oh man.
Yeah.
How beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And bringing families back together in a way.
Yes.
So this is definitely, I just think it's one of the most beautiful things to have in transitional housing, the class work, but the learning that brings you into a place so that when you do have opportunity to get into permanent housing,
Yes.
you have the skills and you have the history. So you've
Right.
built some of those family cultures.
Right.
And
the families that are here, when they leave, we have landlords that know us and know that we are really preparing our families to be good tenants. And so, for example, we have one complex in North Seattle that saves their apartments for Vision House families, or lets us know when they have an open apartment. So their whole complex, I think they have 10 units. It's all Vision House families. So that's a community that's already been built, but they, a new family may move in, and they know, everybody's gone through the same program. So they build on that together as a community, which is really an amazing thing.
makes it even more successful.
Exactly.
Yeah, they hold each other accountable.
Right.
Talk about it.
That's
continue
great.
to grow. Yeah. So there's things that we can do as a community to support Vision
Yes.
House
Yes.
and the families that are moving through here.
Right.
Currently, we have a giving tree.
We do. We have a giving tree that is where we collect gift cards that the families can use actually all year long, but it's primarily for food and gas, and places like Target where they can get clothing for their children or for themselves, especially if they're working and they need work clothes. That's a big need that parents have, is not having appropriate clothing to go to the job site. So we give them gift cards for that purpose. And but we also have a giving catalog, which if you go to our website, visionhouse.org, you'll see it right up there on the front page. But and it gives you the option to choose in what way you want to support a family financially. So obviously we depend upon, we don't receive any public funding, so we rely on individual business and churches to support us financially. But we also have a lot of volunteer opportunities, and there's a page on our website about that. But everything from tutoring or helping with childcare to helping with our maintenance or helping to clean apartments when we're turning them over for a new family. And then we also have an Amazon wish list that's also on our website. So
Saw that
for
there.
specific items that are currently in need, because the best gift is something that we actually need. And we rely on many donations of all kinds of stuff, but really we have specific needs, and which our families have, and those are all listed on our website on our Amazon wish list.
Yeah, and they are. This is not a toy drive.
Right.
These are essentials.
Essentials, yes.
For
Clothing, coats,
bathing, cleansing, hygiene.
right.
Food cards.
One of the things that we use a lot in our diversion centers are the travel size shampoo and things like that. So, but and especially for African American products, for African American hair, that's something that you wouldn't think of. But we want to be honoring to everyone we serve, and so that's a really great way to do that. But so we're not asking you to bring in your hotel things, but if you have those and they're brand new, we can't use used products. But travel size is really great because we can let them use it and then take it with them. And so we because at our diversion centers we have showers.
Yes, I was going to ask you
and
to highlight that.
So and laundry facilities, and they're high-speed washers. So if a family comes in to meet with one of our diversion staff and spends 2 hours there getting some counseling or helping to do some job search, they can be washing their clothes at the same time. And family who comes is living in their car and doesn't have the ability to shower or wash clothes, they can come in and it's not a drop-in, it's by appointment only, but they can take a shower, wash their clothes, and then use all the other services as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love Vision House. Now, for those of you that haven't ever been introduced to Vision House or anything before, they've got a beautiful YouTube site that's got some tours through some of the apartments if you want to see. They're beautiful, nice, beautiful kitchens, these are nice homes that people have the opportunity to get into. And plus all the ways that you can be a part of this. Like Melissa was saying, between volunteer work and giving, and there's a couple jobs posted if you want to be a permanent part of this.
Right. We can't do what we do without our community support.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And because I was human resources for so long, I really am proud of our staff and am proud that we are able to equip them the way that we do to serve well.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think for any of us, each one of us say at some point in life, I could have been there. Like we often don't take the time to just count our blessings, but here it is, Christmas. And it is a great time to count blessings and then share those extras, or even the primaries.
There's so many stories of how God has worked miracles in people's lives. It's such a blessing to be part of it.
And this community serves all ethnicities.
That's correct.
It's a Christian-based organization, but in terms of the service to the community, it is global.
We have
which
no
is beautiful.
mandatory religious or spiritual requirements, and we don't discriminate on any basis on the families that we serve. In fact, we're one of the only programs that will take teenage boys over the age of 12. Many programs will not take them and therefore separate the families, and we do not do that. We will not do that.
Awesome. I wouldn't want my 12-year-old boy taken away from me.
No.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, here it is. It's Vision House. And I would like every one of you to get on this site, do a donation if you can for Christmas, and help your community out. Thanks. Melissa, thank you for this time. I'm
such a blessing.
Pleased to be able to share it with our community.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it. So you shared some great stories from folks that have been in the program. How about you? Do you have any highlights that you have just really been able to receive from this, and then
to see a family's life transformed, and we see that in very small ways and big ways. From a mom who grew up in a gang environment and ended up with 4 children through addiction, and then to being in Vision House for 9 months and then going to her own home and with a job and her children in school. I could easily have been that mom